أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله صلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to chapter 12, which is on revenue cycle. Inshallah, we're going to start our discussion of the 4 chapters beginning with this one, which are included in the final exam. Let's start with the first one, which is chapter 12, the revenue cycle. The primary objective of the revenue cycle is to provide the right product in the right place at the right time for the right price. So the focus of this business cycle is to give the customers the product they need, where they need it, at the time they need it, and for the price they're willing to pay for it. For example, a bottle of water can be sold for a real or less in the supermarket, but the same bottle of water, if you go past the immigration at the airport, is much higher. The price is much higher, but the customers are willing to pay. So the business has to decide where to charge the customer the price that the customer is going to pay. And there are certain decisions that you have to make as a part of this business cycle as business executives. And the first one is product customization. You need to decide whether you're going to provide your customers with generic products like ready-made clothes, or do you want to provide a customized product like tailored clothes. So this can happen in any industry, in the car industry, in the furniture industry. So you need to decide what is going to be your service, either customization or generic. Number 2, the amount and place of inventory to carry. So if you have multiple locations, let's say you have a supermarket in Al Khor and you have another one in Al Gharrafa, you need to decide how much inventory you need to carry in each place depending on the type of customers you have. You need to also decide, number 3, delivery options. Are you going to deliver the items to your customers, or do you want the customers to come to you and purchase from you? Number 4, pricing. You need to decide how much you're going to charge the customers. And it is possible that you can charge the customers a different amount in different locations. For example, if you have a McDonald's outside in Doha somewhere, you can charge the customers 20 riyals for a meal. But you have the same restaurant, you have another branch inside the airport, you can charge 30 riyals. So you need to decide what is the pricing going to be depending on the factors that affect the pricing, the location, your competitor's price, etc. Number 5, the amount and terms of it. So are you going to allow the customers to buy now and pay later? In that case, you have to give them the credit terms. How long are you going to allow them to pay? How long, how much do they have to pay every month if you're going to allow them to make monthly payments? Or are you going to give them a discount if they pay early? Things like that you have to decide. And number 6, how are you going to process the payment? Are you going to take only cash? Are you going to take only a debit card? You know, some places like the Murur and some other places, for example, Al Ahli Hospital does not accept any cash. So they only accept a debit card or a credit card. So how are you going to process the payment? How are you going to allow your customers to pay? This is something you also have to decide. And the more flexible you are, the more business you can get, of course. In the revenue cycle, the activities are divided into 4 different stages, and under each one of these stages you have small steps. So we're going to have 4 different broad activities in the revenue cycle. The first one is sales order entry, taking the sales order from the customer. Number 2 is shipping the item to the customer. Number 3, sending a bill to the customer. And number 4, collecting the payment from the customers. We're going to discuss the first 2 in details. In each one of these broad stages, there are smaller steps, smaller tasks, and we're going to discuss 2 of these stages, the sales order entry and the shipping, in detail today, inshallah. The sales order entry starts with step number one, take order. And when you take the order from the customers, you need to take the information from the customer about the following items. You need to know the product number. And the product number the customer may not know. For example, if you go to the restaurant and you see that, look at the menu, the customers don't usually order by item number 23 and item number 25. They say, I want a fried rice or I want a chicken sandwich. But the seller, the restaurant has a product number for each one. So they include that in the order that they enter into their system. So there is a product number for every product. And then you want to know the quantity, how many of that item the customer wants, the price of that item, and then the salesperson's ID. Now, this is something that is attached with every sale in any medium to large size business that is sophisticated in their handling of the information. If you get a receipt from Lulu and you look at the receipt, you will see that the cashier's ID or name or somehow some identification is in there. So if something else happens to this order, something goes wrong later, they will know exactly who sold that item. So this is attached with the sales order. That's step number one, taking the order. How can you enhance this step? How can you improve this step of taking the order? Number one, you can send the orders directly to the warehouse for picking and shipping. Now, when we are discussing this, you need to think about the buyer as a company and the seller as another company. So let's say you have the seller as Al Rayyan Water Company and the buyer as a supermarket that is buying water from Al Rayyan Water Bottling Company. And when Al Rayyan receives an order from a supermarket, they receive it in an office where they take orders. And this order is then automatically shipped to their warehouse where they keep the inventory of hundreds and thousands of bottles of water, right? So this can be electronically sent, and I'm sure Al Rayyan sends it electronically because they are sophisticated enough. And if you have ever ordered from Al Rayyan for your home delivery, the ticket that they give you, you will see there is a barcode in there as well. So the coupon book, every single page has a barcode, right? So I'm sure they have sophisticated methods of handling their inventory. So this order is directly sent to the warehouse for picking the item and shipping it to the buyer. The second item here is EDI, to take orders. EDI, this term EDI is going to come again and again. And I want you to learn what it means. It means electronic data interchange. Electronic data interchange. Electronic data interchange could be any method of sending data electronically. It could be an email, it could be a message, it could be a message through an application of the seller, right? Electronic data interchange to take the orders. Number three, automating the price change and promotion notification. I'm sure all of us have received many messages like this when there is a price change or a promotion or a buy one get one free or buy two get two free. This comes automatically in our phones and in our emails and so forth. So automatic notification, and it enhances the orders from the customers, right? If you buy a product and you see it on sale, right, it will, getting that message will initiate the order if you want to buy that item. Number four, customer sales history to customize solicitation. So using the customer's past service history. If the customer, for let's say for example, if the customer at Vodafone is calling UK on a regular basis, and if there is a sale on calling to UK, then that customer should get a message. This is called based on the history of the customer, right? The customer calls to UK on a regular basis, and the customer gets a notification when there is a sale. And the customer who never calls UK would not get that notification, right? So this is based on customizing the solicitations based on history of the customer. Number five, using of choice boards to customize orders. have seen this. If you go to the restaurant, there's a choice board where you have all the menu items and the pictures of the items that they sell. This is called a choice board. This is easier for the customer to look at that item with the picture and make an order, right? Number six, handhelds in the field. Handhelds are devices like tablets that are used in taking the orders, and tea time, you have seen, I'm sure, uses the handheld devices to take orders. It enhances the order taking. They can electronically send the order to the kitchen instead of them walking back to the shop, and they can go to the next customer, right? So this is handhelds in the field. It enhances the order taking. Step number two inside sales order taking is to perform credit check. And credit check is when a customer receives the product and pays for the product later. So let's go back to our example of Al Rayyan and the supermarket. Let's say the supermarket wants to buy from Al Rayyan for the first time, and they just open. So Al Rayyan will check whether the supermarket has uh, enough customers coming, they have enough money in the bank to pay them in case they cannot sell those bottles of water they buy from Al Rayyan, and they're going to approve this customer for uh, approve this customer for a uh, general authorization, meaning they will say, okay, this customer is small, and we're going to allow them to get one truck of water from us every week, and they can pay after a week or after 2 weeks, and as long as they're paying, we will continue to ship them. So this is the general authorization based on the status of the customer. There could be something else called a specific authorization, where the customer asks for a special authorization because of a special occasion. So let's say the supermarket gets a truck of water every week, and the supermarket needs 2 trucks of water because it's the week of Eid. So they request a specific authorization for 2 trucks of water for the week of Eid. And if this is approved, then this would be called a specific authorization, right? This is going to be called a specific authorization. And how can you enhance this process? Number one, you can automate the credit limit and accounts receivable balance checking. So the customer receives the item and there is an accounts receivable. And when the customer makes a payment, the accounts receivable is reduced down to zero if the customer made the payment, full payment. So this information can be made available automatically to the customer. For example, Kahrama, if you make a payment to Kahrama, Kahrama sends you a message saying that the payment was received, right? So this again enhances this process. Number two, emails or instant messages to the credit manager for a specific authorization. So if the customer is asking for a specific authorization, this message can be sent to the credit manager who's responsible for approving the credit automatically, so that the electronically, instantly, so that the credit manager can quickly approve if they can approve, and they can continue the business. So these are a couple of ways to enhance this step. There's a question that says MCD is example of choice board to customize order or any restaurant with a menu card. Is that what is MCD? What about McDonald's? The choice boards is not something that is uncommon, not just McDonald's. Almost every restaurant, if you go walk in there, you go to Bursa Istanbul and you go to any restaurant, you will see that the display, this is a simple thing, the display of the menu with pictures, right? This is not something rocket science. This is available in many restaurants, right? Right. So the choice board can be still picture right? It could be a screen that is used for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It could be all of that. But the idea of choice board, the word choice board, is there is a board and you can choose from it, right? Is that clear? Okay. Now, this third step before you complete the order is to check inventory availability, right? Inventory availability, which is to check whether you have enough items to complete the order. And when the order is taken, you first look at how many items you have on hand. So let's say you received an order for 5,000 bottles and you go and check your warehouse, you see you have 20,000 bottles. But you have made a promise to another customer to ship them 10,000 bottles, and you still have those bottles in your warehouse but you haven't shipped them yet. So you have 20,000, 10,000 is already promised to somebody else. That means you can only take order for up to 10,000, and if your current order has less than 10,000, then you can complete the order. If it has more than 10,000, then you cannot complete the order. You can only give the customer what is available, and then if you are a manufacturer, you can make more. And if you are a merchandiser, if you buy and you sell the inventory, then you can initiate a back order, meaning you can buy and order more, and then you can complete the rest of the order, and you can inform the customer that we don't have what you ordered, we will ship what we have, and then we have ordered more and we will send it to you once it arrives, right? So inventory availability before you complete the order is necessary, and I'm sure it happened to um, some of us, where you order an item at a restaurant, the waiter takes the order, and 10-15 minutes later the waiter comes back and says, we don't have this, sir, can you order something, so this something else. So this makes the customer annoyed when you inform the customer when the customer is waiting for the item. So you need to take a look at your inventory availability before you complete the order. Does that make sense? The things that make the inventory record inaccurate are as follows. You look at your inventory availability in your system, and the system may give you wrong data if the following things were done. First, if the record was not updated when items were shipped or sales were made. So you have 10 iPhones in your inventory and you sell two of them. If you do not update your records, and some places automatically update as soon as they scan the barcode, but some other places they have to manually do it. So when you sell the item, you have to update your inventory record so that the updated inventory record shows how much you have. Not running similar items through the scanner. So for example, let's say you take a bottle of Pepsi and a bottle of 7 Up to the counter at the supermarket. Both of them are priced the same. The bottle of 7 Up is the same price as the bottle of Pepsi. But if the cashier scans the Pepsi twice and does not scan the 7 Up, then it will make the inventory for Pepsi and 7 Up incorrect, because they have reduced two bottles of Pepsi and they have not done anything to the 7 Up. So they have to scan each separately. Now, if you have two identical items, you have two bottles of Pepsi or five bottles of Pepsi, you can scan one and multiply that with 5. This will reduce the inventory accurately. But scanning similar items would make the inventory inaccurate. The third point here is entering returned items in the system. Meaning, if the customer returns an item, not only should you put it back in the shelf, but you should update your inventory record so that you can have the right amount of items in the record. And if any of these things are done incorrectly, then your inventory record will be incorrect. Is that clear? Are you following? Most of this stuff is very, very common sense. You have noticed it before, I'm sure, right? But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Step number 4 in the sales order entry is to respond to customer inquiries. For example, organizing data to the sales associates to provide a personalized service. Now, you have noticed, I'm sure, that when you go to a shop or a supermarket and you ask the sales associate or the clerk a question, they generally try to get you off of their back. They just try to tell you something like, I don't work for this department, or if you ask them where can I find this, they will just tell you a random answer and you will not be able to find it. And that is not good customer service. It takes 5 times more effort to attract a new customer compared to serving the customer that is already in your market, in your supermarket, in your shop. And there should be more effort in serving the customers who are coming to the business so that you can keep them coming. The first point here is the data to serve the customers should be organized and the sales associate should be trained. And number 2, they should be trained on how to provide the data to the customers and serve the customer needs. And there should be a set of standards or business practices that enhances the service for the customers. So if the customers keep going around and they cannot find an answer, they will go to somebody else. If you have the product and the customer is looking for it and the customer cannot find it, they will buy from someone else. So the seller must be organized and the seller must train all of its sales associates to help the customer. And there is a lot of room for enhancement, as most businesses do not provide a very good customer service. But those that do have customers coming back to them and they have enhanced sales. How can you enhance responding to customers? Step number 1, you can automate the updating of accounts receivable. Now, this will answer the customer's questions about the bills and the payments. So I gave you an example of Kahanama sending automatic notifications. So if you submit a payment or if you make a payment, then if there is notification of the update of the payment, then you don't have to call and check. So it reduces the customer inquiry. Sending customized coupons. Now, customized coupons don't necessarily fall in the customer inquiry category, but it's in the customer service category. Customized coupons are coupons based on the history of what the customer has purchased. So, for example, if the customer buys a particular brand of shampoo or a particular brand of baby food, then giving the customer a coupon or sending the customer a coupon to buy that item again, a reduced price or a discount, will bring the customer again. And again, this is not necessarily inquiry of customers, but it is to bring back the customer. Number 3, having a frequently asked questions either on your website or in some other way, having answers to frequently asked questions. And if you find many customers ask the same question, you can have a set of questions and the answers ready for the customers to look at. This will reduce the customer inquiries and the customers can get a quick answer without talking to somebody physically. Number 4, order status update. If the customer ordered something and you ship to the customer, sending the update to the customer will enhance the response to customer inquiries. Amazon does that regularly. If you order something from them, they will tell you that the order was ready, it was shipped, it is on its way. So the customer knows without asking when the order should arrive. And number 5, tracking customer requests and complaints. If many customers are requesting something and you're not providing it, or if many customers are complaining about something and you're not fixing it, then this is something that is problematic and this must be addressed. If it goes without addressing, then your customers will find another business who will serve that need, right? So tracking those requests and complaints will help you in responding to those requests and complaints. All right. So that is the sales order entry. The next stage, which we're going to discuss today, is the shipping. Now, shipping is fairly simple. Once the order is taken, you have to pick the order and you have to pack and ship the order. Picking the order requires something called a pick ticket. So let's say you order something or a number from Carrefour or Lulu. They will have a list which is called a pick ticket, which will have the items and the quantities. And if you order for delivery, somebody will go inside the warehouse or the supermarket and pick the items based on the pick ticket, and then they will pack it, and then they will ship it to you, then they will deliver it to you. So very, very simple step: picking the items and packing it. How can you enhance this step? Obviously, use of barcodes. All of you have seen barcodes. I'm sure you can reach with your hand wherever you're sitting something that has a barcode, these uh, vertical black lines, right, that you have in each product that is scanned. There is something else called RFID, which is radio frequency ID. What is this? If you go to clothing stores, you will see that the clothes are attached, a plastic ring with a thing is attached with each cloth, and they have to take it out when you go and pay for them. Have you seen this? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this at clothing stores? These plastics attached to the sweater or the jacket or the shirt or the trouser. Yeah. So if you try to walk out the door of the shop without opening that, what happens? The alarm, right? It will sound. That means there is something at the door which scans that uh, plastic. So that is a radio frequency scanner. And if the items are tagged with radio frequency tags, like those uh, clothing items, then you can enter through the door and it will scan. And in warehouses, you can put that to scan items as they go in and out of the warehouse to account for the inventory that is sold, right? So the radio frequency IDs are similar to barcode. They're a little bit more advanced in that you have to bring the barcode very close to the scanner, but you don't have to bring the radio frequency ID close to the scanner. You just walk through the door or uh, the scanner, and it will scan the item. Uh, the last one is conveyor belts. I'm sure you have seen them at the supermarket, the belt that carries the item to the cashier. Similar belts are at warehouses where it's connected to the warehouse and the truck when they are loading the truck or unloading the truck. And you have seen this somewhere else. Who can tell me where you have seen conveyor belts for loading and unloading? Airports, very good, excellent, right? This is the same thing. So the luggage, and do they scan the luggage? Do they scan the luggage? Right? There are barcodes in the tag, right? So there is tag. So now, you know, uh, the before barcode and so forth, uh, more luggages went to the wrong destination than they do now. They still do. I mean, they still go to wrong destinations. The customer arrives and the luggage does not come. It happens, right? Has it happened to anyone? You arrived and the luggage did not come? Yeah. So is very inconvenient, right? It's very inconvenient. So uh, the more automated it is, and the more people pay attention, and ultimately it comes down to the people handling it, because the automation will only work if the people follow the procedure, right? Again, the conveyor belt is something that helps loading and unloading the items for shipment. All right. Now, what happens in the shipment, in the shipping, the shipping clerk compares the quantities and items picked with the order. So before the shipment is made, the order is looked at and the box where the items will be packed are compared to make sure that everything that was ordered is put inside the bag, in the box. Number two, if any item is missing and the seller does not have the item, they have to initiate something called a back order, So if the customer ordered something and they don't have that, they need to order that to get from the supplier. Number three, the clerk prepares the shipping documents, which include these three items. The first one is a packing slip. The packing slip is the last thing that they put in the box. And when you open the box, this is the first thing you see. The packing slip has all the items that are inside the box and the price, right? This is the first document. There is a second document which is called the bill of lading. The bill of lading is an agreement between the seller and the shipping company. So let's say Amazon is the seller and DHL is the shipping company. Amazon gives DHL two laptop computers, and DHL must accept the two laptop computers, both agreeing that these two specific models, color, etc., was given to DHL and DHL received it. After this, if DHL damages these computers or they lose these computers, then they will be responsible. If this bill of lading was not there, then if something happens on the road, if they lose one of the computers, DHL might say, you only gave us one. But the bill of lading, one copy is with the seller, one copy is with the shipping company, and they both agreed that this is what was exchanged between the two, the shipping clerk and the driver who's going to deliver the item. So bill of lading is between the seller and the shipping company, if the shipping company is other than the seller, right? The seller could be the shipping company itself. So the seller could have their own shipping trucks and so forth. In that case, there is no bill of lading. The third is a freight bill, which is the uh, payment for the shipment. If the shipping company is different than the seller, then the freight bill is the bill for shipment, and this could be paid by the seller or the buyer. And I'm sure you have heard something called FOB destination and FOB shipping point, right? Free on board destination and free on board shipping point. Does that ring a bell from your financial accounting class? FOB destination, FOB shipping point. Yeah. FOB destination means that the seller is going to pay for it. FOB shipping point means that the buyer is going to pay for it. So the freight bill is the bill for shipment, and it depends on who's going to pay for the shipment. The freight bill is going to be paid by either the seller or the buyer, depending on the agreement. Once this is done, once the item is shipped, the seller records the sale, which is debit to accounts receivable and credit to sales, right? Debit to accounts receivable. This happens when the item is shipped. All of you have recorded this entry, I'm sure, right? All right. Now, there are a couple of things actually that the seller needs to decide when it comes to shipping. Number one is the method of delivery. Either the seller could have their own trucks and drivers and so forth to ship, or they could hire another company for shipping. If the seller decides to deliver the item, then they will control the entire quality. So they can deliver on time. They don't have to depend on anybody else. They don't have to wait for somebody else to come and pick up the order. But they will have to be responsible for maintaining the trucks and the drivers, and if any accidents happen, the seller is going to be responsible. So the quality is going to be better, hopefully, but they have more work and more responsibilities. On the other hand, if they outsource, if they hire a good shipping company, then they don't have to worry about the drivers and the trucks and the accidents that happen on the road. But if the shipping company does not provide good service, if they're late, then the buyer is going to blame the seller and not the shipping company. So each company has to decide what they want to do. Is that clear? So this is a business decision that each company must make. The second decision they have to make is the distribution center, which is every company has warehouses where they store goods, like the furniture companies have their warehouses where they keep the furniture. They need to decide which location they're going to have. So let's say a big company like Homes R Us or Home Center, they might have a distribution center in Sanaiya, one in Al Khor, and they need to decide which location they need to have this distribution center and how much inventory to carry. So if somebody orders from Al Khor or Garrafa, they don't have to bring the item all the way from Sanaiya. They can ship from Al Khor. Similarly, if somebody orders in Al Rayyan, they send from Sanaiya. It is close. So they need to know the number of locations they need to have, distribution centers, and the amount of inventory they need to carry in each location. Okay? Any questions on the first two stages of the revenue cycle? Sales, entry, or shipping? Okay. Now, the next few minutes, I would like to talk about the project which will be made available to you at 5 o'clock today. And I need you to pay attention closely to what I'm going to discuss next. What is the difference between the warehouse and the distribution center? They're pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same. You could have only one warehouse where you sell, for example, just behind the supermarket. The distribution center is also a warehouse, but it is kept in strategic locations from where you ship the items, right? And it is usually in a less expensive area because you need more space, right? So if you have a showroom in downtown, you might have a distribution center in Sanaiya or in Al Khor where you keep large amounts of inventory. So you have the showroom where you show one piece of chair or one car and so forth, and the other models or other inventories in your distribution centers, which is also a warehouse. But distribution centers are located in different strategic locations from where you can quickly ship to the customer's location. That is a very good question. Does that answer your question, Sharat? Oh, very good. Any other questions? Okay, that is a good question. I'm sure you have more when you study, and please don't be shy in sending questions even via email or in future classes. We're just beginning the topic of the business cycles, and inshallah, this is going to be easier than the first part of the course, inshallah. Okay, now I need you to focus with me, discuss the projects A and B. I have received some inquiries from students who were eager to know what is going to be these two projects. Before we get into the actual project, I would like to discuss something called the idea of multiple intelligence. Multiple intelligence is the ability of students or individuals in different aspects better than some others. So for example, some students may be a more logically oriented. They may be better at doing math. Some may be more linguistic, where they are better in writing. Some may uh, better in making presentations. They have more interpersonal skills. They're better at explaining and talking and so forth. Some may be body smart. They may have kinesthetic skills. For example, somebody could be better in making things with their hands, right? And so forth. So there are others like musical and visual and interpersonal and naturalistic and so forth. You can watch a small video in a short video in YouTube to learn about this. But what we're going to try to do in this course is I'm going to try to identify your multiple intelligence, where each one of you has the strength, and I'm going to assign you two projects, and I'm going to divide the student groups based on your multiple intelligence. And this questionnaire to find out your multiple intelligence, what the multiple intelligence uh, is in your case, I will need you to complete a questionnaire which will be available to you uh, on Thursday. And it looks like as follows. Let me show you. Okay. Can you see the Excel spreadsheet? Is anybody there? So here, there are a number of questions that I need you to answer uh, with either a 0 or a 1, and this will be available to you on Thursday, inshallah, where I need you to download this file. It will be available on Thursday. Download this file, write your name and your ID number, and answer these questions, and save the file using your name like you did in the computerized AIS. So save the file using your name and answer the questions. For example, the first one, it says I like to swim. If it is yes, put 1. If it's no, then put 0. So there is a whole list, sorting things into groups, thinking about life, picturing things in my mind, working with my hands, studying patterns, keeping things in order, studying a partner, etc., etc. So you either answer with a 0 or a 1, and then you go all the way down, say, answer all the questions, and then save the file using your name, just like you did in the computerized AIS. Otherwise, if I have 27 files with the same name, it is difficult for me to organize and save them. Does that make sense? Are you following? Okay. You can also, once you do this, once you answer them, you can also see your uh, intelligence yourself. The scores will be automatically generated, and you can go to the next tab and you can see for yourself what your multiple intelligence is. So for example, if verbal, logical, visual, etc., etc., you will see which one you're strong at. And I need you to submit this in Blackboard so that I can get that. Is that clear? Are you following? Okay, now once I get that, we are going to start working on the project in groups, And here is the timeline. The first project, which is project A, is going to be assigned, made available to you today, although the groups are not going to be assigned until next week. And I'm going to discuss the project A in just a couple of minutes. Project A is going to be generic. It's going to be the same for all groups. It will not be engaging the multiple intelligence. But your groups are going to be based on your multiple intelligence, your answer to those questions. And there is no right or wrong answer when you fill out that questionnaire. You answer honestly so that we know what you are talented at, what you're good at. And this is something that we are trying to see whether this is going to enhance your performance. The idea is, if a project is assigned to you where you can employ your multiple intelligence, not only are you going to learn more, but you're going to enjoy the process as well. But the first project is going to be generic for everyone. The second one, which is project B, is going to be based on your strength. So in the second project, some people might prepare a report, some people might make a video, some people might make a poster, some people might make a presentation, and it will vary based on what you're strong at, right? Some people love making posters, some people don't. Some people like writing reports, some people like making videos. So if you're given the same assignment, if you're asked to find more information or complete an assignment, and the delivery of it is based on something that you like to do, then my hypothesis is that not only are you going to learn better, but you're going to enjoy the process, right? And this is, I'm trying for the first time in this course, and first time in any course. And inshallah, I hope that this is going to help you. This is going to be better for you. And if it is, inshallah, then we're going to try, I am going to try to sell this idea so that you are not stuck with only one type of assignments, and you have the choice of completing assignments in other courses as well, inshallah, where you not only will learn more, but you will enjoy. Do you follow? Do you follow the idea? Does that make sense? Okay. So the timeline is, the project is going to be assigned today, inshallah, and I'm going to discuss it in a couple of minutes. The multiple intelligence questionnaire is going to be assigned, is going to be available on October 8th, and I'm going to get the answers from you by October 11th, which is after the drop date, so that I don't assign the groups with students who might drop, and hopefully nobody will drop, inshallah, right? Uh, so two questions here. Muhammad Isa said, did something else with 16 personalities in other classes good? And Muhammad Al-Sada says, if the students got the same score, very unlikely unless the students are not honest, right? Unless the students are not honest, these scores are not going to be the same, right? And if it is, then we will see how to handle that. But if the students are honest in answering the question, then it is very unlikely, right? The possibility of it is very, very low. Okay, so the teams are going to be formed by the 13th of October, inshallah, within less than a week, or a week from now, inshallah. But you can start thinking about the project from now. The submission of the first project, project A, is not until October 29th, right? And I'm going to talk about what you have to do. Then the next project, which will be employing, so each group will have a different, or different groups will have different uh, method of doing the second project, which will be assigned on November 1st, and it will be due on November 19th. Okay. Now let's take a look at the project a little bit. Now the groups are going to be assigned by the instructor. I will assign the group members, and there is usually a fear among people that I will work with people whom I have not worked with before, or how do I know the other people will do their work, and so forth. There are two things here. Number one, real life, you never get to take your group members to work for the same company you will join. And in every project that you are going to work on in your company, you will have different group members to complete the project. So you have to know how to work with people who you are not necessarily familiar with, or there may be somebody in the group that may not like you, or you may not like them, right? But you have to work together to complete the project. And this is also real life training. So the group members will be assigned by me, number one. Number two, if I never let the students form their groups, except on rare occasions in master's classes and so forth. The reason is the good students usually end up being in the same group and the others are left behind. So there is a necessary distribution for the students, not only to learn from the instructor, but the students to learn from themselves. So doing the groups in that way helps the students who are better teaching the others, and it helps them enhance their abilities, and the students who are weaker maybe in some aspects to learn from the better students. So there are multiple benefits of doing the groups this way. All right, let's talk about the project. The purpose of this project is to research the cutting-edge technology available in the marketplace and propose a practical use of it in one or more of the four steps in the revenue business cycle. During our study of the revenue cycle, we discussed technologies used in the sales order entry, shipping, billing, and cash collection steps. Now, we started doing this. We haven't completed. We will complete chapter 12 by the end of next week, inshallah. This entire project is uh, circling around chapter 12, which is the revenue cycle. The assignment of your team is to propose a technology that is not currently utilized in one or more of these steps in the revenue cycle. The technology may be currently in use in a limited capacity or maybe a future concept. So we are learning about certain technologies that are already in use, like the barcode, the radio frequency ID, the conveyor belt, the electronic data interchange. All of those things are already there, and we are studying them. Your assignment is to find another technology that is not something that is used, that we are not studying. This can be something that is used maybe in one country somewhere, very small capacity, and this is not mainstream yet. Or it can be a future concept. So you can think about something that is not in place, and you can be wild in your imagination. It can be science fiction. It doesn't have to be in existence. You can think about this with your imagination. And I always do this project in my AIS class because, inshallah, I want the next innovation to come from our students, from us, and not us going and buying it from somewhere else. So we want you, the future of our university, our country, to find the next technology, right? To innovate the next technology. So this will help you use your imagination about a future concept. And you can use books, article, internet, and any available source. Make sure you cite the sources according to the AAA Accounting Association method, which is provided at the end of this document. This document that I'm displaying to you right now will be available today at 5 o'clock, inshallah. So how are you supposed to do this? You're supposed to, you'll be divided into groups of four, and there are four things that you need to answer or discuss. Number one, you have to describe the technology. What is the technology? Number two, you have to describe exactly in which business step or steps of the revenue cycle it is used. So the technology must help at least one of the four steps, either sales order entry or shipping or billing or cash collection. It can help more than one. If it helps more than one, no problem, but it should help at least one, right? And then the benefits of using the technology, exactly how it helps, it benefits the business step, and what are the disadvantages. Every single innovation has some disadvantage. You cannot just come and say there is no disadvantage. You have to think, what is the disadvantage? Will people lose jobs because of this? Is there harm in using this technology? Is it too expensive for most people to have? Is there not enough benefit uh, compared to the cost? You have to think about what is the disadvantage, right? And a report must be prepared with these 4 items. Each one of the students should take one of these, and they should write between 250 to 300 words about their section using the Times New Roman font and a 12 size double spaced. And there should be a cover page with the title and the names of the students in the group and their ID numbers, along with the parts they have completed, right? Along with the parts they have completed, parts 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 that we just discussed, should be written by the name of the student. And the grading is going to be in 2 different uh, stages. The first one, the entire project is 15 points, which will be converted into 7.5% for the Blackboard grades. 10 out of these 15 points are individual. So each student individually will receive 10 points, and that is based on the following: the content and the write-up. The content of the write-up is 4 points out of this 10, which is what exactly have you included in the description. And the 6 points are divided into 3 categories: organization of your writing, language of your writing, and grammar of your writing. 2 points for each, right? You need to focus on this as well. Now, like I said, this project is generic. This is the same for everybody. So this will not employ your multiple intelligence, and I'm going to compare your performance in this project with the project which does employ your multiple intelligence to see, is there a difference between your performance? Is there a difference between what you have learned, right? So this is the individual part. The overall project will be assigned 5 points for originality and presentation. Presentation, you don't have to do a verbal presentation. The presentation of the report and the originality of your idea. Right? And each member of the group is expected to work as a team member with other team members. And if there is any issue, if you find a team member not cooperating or there is a problem with your team, you need to discuss this with me immediately so that I can handle any issues, right? I expect everybody to participate, and I expect everybody to do their part, right? Because your part is going to be not only graded for the entire team, but it will be graded for you individually. And then the rest of the document has styles of referencing. If you cite from a book or a website or a journal article or anything like that, then how to cite that, it's given here in the rest of the pages. You only need to use that which is applicable to you. I'm not going to go through this document. Do you have any questions for me so far? I'm sure you will have more questions as you start working on it, but do you have any questions, any clarifications you need on how to get started, what I'm asking from you? Okay, very good. So you can download this in half an hour, inshallah. All of this will be available, the project. And the multiple intelligence questionnaire is going to be available when? Does anybody remember? Thursday, right? So once it's available, please complete it, save it with your name, and submit in Blackboard, and then I will assign the groups. All right? All right, then, if you don't have any questions, inshallah, have a good weekend, and I will see you again in this session next Sunday. Okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.